Hey folks, good afternoon. Today's date, let's see here, is January 19th, Friday. It's about 4:20, 20 after 4 in the afternoon. I came back out after lunch and Debbie and I took a trip into town so I could I was trying to get an idea to put some plastic up in the shop here to make kind of a warm room. Anyway, I've been working on a JD-40. We got it running. And then I adjusted the valves on number 2 cylinder here. And it started bucking and popping. I said, what in the world's going on? What had actually happened, I don't have the old shaft with me. I gave that to the owner, Bill. But what had happened was here where the pedestal is. I mean, rockers, yes, they'd wore into the shaft some. But what actually happened was, for some reason, this pedestal wore into the shaft. I mean, a serious amount. No idea why, because everything's loose and working properly now. The front shaft was worn too, but for the most part that was holding, but actually quite normal. So what was happening? The shaft was flexing all the way through here. So I'd adjust it so the feeler would slide in and out, or go tight, and back it off, and then turn it. Well, actually I'd turn them tight, take it a half turn pass to 1 turn pass tight to actually open the valve. Then loosen it back up and then start again. That way if there's any oil or anything else that's going to affect it, it generally takes care of that problem. Well, then I adjusted it so the feeler gauge would slide properly. I noticed it felt funny, so we fired it up and it's popping and snorting. My original adjustment was I snugged it down and backed these off a half turn. I do that with almost everything that I do. You know, the tractors anyway. It ends up about the same. You end up with 30 thousandths of lifter, but nothing's going to hit. Everything clatters. You can see if there's oil coming through, and if there's any excessive noise, that'll really amplify it. So I did that and it ran great. Well, as soon as I tightened them up properly, the way it's supposed to be, 12 thousandths hot, which is about 13 intake and 14 exhaust, cold, or you could just do all of them 15. It's not that critical on these old tractor engines. Could have done them all stone cold at 15. But I had warmed the tractor up. So back here, what was happening? This was hitting. As soon as I pulled the feeler gauge out, it was snug against the top of the valve. Well, I tried sliding the feeler gauge in. It wouldn't go. I said, what's going on here? Well, we fired it up and ran it, and it popped and snorted. So I pulled it apart and tried putting the feeler gauge back in. So I adjusted it 4 or 5 times, and I actually got the feeler gauge to go back in. I said, well, I got to be close then. Well, it turns out, no, I wasn't. What was happening was, while I'm tightening this screw down, it's taking up the play in the shaft. It was lifting the shaft several thousandths in the pedestal here. So the shaft was being held snug on this end and flexing on the other. And it would actually sometimes open the valve back up. Tractors don't have that tight a spring on. So I didn't see it open the valve when I had the feeler gauge in there, but it was enough that tension that the valve wouldn't completely close and we'd start getting pops and snorts. Well, it was one of those things where you either loosen it up and run it, or like we did, we kept searching till we found a shaft. I think this was at Wenger's. 35 bucks plus shipping it came in. It's in fair shape. It's in a lot better shape than his old one. It actually has reasonable wear on it, what we were expecting him to have originally. But his engine had so many hours on it that it said 3750 or 3708, I guess it was. And the tack hadn't worked since Bill could remember. So what's that tell you? The thing had been gone many, many, many years. So while this was flopping up and down every so often, it would flutter and cause the valve to open. So we were getting pops and snorts and all kinds of trouble, but it'd start right up. Well, we got the new shaft, we got it in here, tightened it up. Now, here's the special tool. This cap has a bar in it. There's a slot in the shaft. I'll show you. Because there's a cap on each end. Okay? There's the slot. I don't know if I can get it so you can see that bar in there or not. Hey, you can almost see it. If I get the light right. But anyway, there's a bar in there that chain hooks the I don't know if I can hold 2 of these at once or not. Let's try it. Get a better position on this thing. There it is. See a little flat piece? There's a hook in it. This one, because the spring is short, it works fine. The original spring was a full-length spring end-to-end. Well, this has wire ends, the spring in the middle internally, and goes all the way across to here. That bar lines up with those notches, top and bottom, right there. And the spring is what keeps these end caps on. There, back on it. So now these are much tighter. This is even tighter a little bit. I mean the pedestal. This pedestal is nice. So we'll get the thing back on, retorque it, and put her back together. But these are the kind of things you find when you're monkeying around with these. Now the other one I ran into is I didn't even pay attention. I tore it apart because I have a couple of manuals in a couple of places. I got it on my phone, tablet, and diagnostic computer. And these were supposed to be in the middle. I had this one here, that one there, and this side was okay. So I had to swap those around. What are the bolts in there for? Well, that was to actually hold it generally together. So while I was pulling the spring through, this cap was tight, this was all on, and then I could pull it through here and actually hold this arm. But I did put it in the vise to hold it still. Pull it out, latched it, and then put the cap up on there. And so that is my new John Deere special tool, coat hanger. It's not just for door locks anymore. It needs to be longer, because as I put this thing down here, the hook didn't come out the other end, but it was close enough I could hook the extension wire on there. Well, there we are. She's working good. Everything will be fine next week when we put it on. I say next week because this weekend's supposed to be nasty. Tomorrow, terrible cold. And Sunday, well, neither Bill or I are going to do much on a Sunday. So, except go to church. Oh yeah, I stole that idea because these are my fuel line hooks I make. You have to file the ends off so you don't puncture the fuel line. But when you're working on chainsaws and trimmers. So there you go, your John Deere 40 rock shaft. In 7 minutes and change. Yes, this looks better than it was. It was all crudded up. Now inside, internally, oil paste had built up there. It was awful. Well, I got to start packing up and think about going inside here shortly because it is dang cold out here and my main focus is all done. Now for my road tools, I used to stack everything in here and I got it in there. That got so darn heavy. It's just a little box. It's barely a foot high, maybe 10 inches deep, 26 wide. It's a beautiful old box. I think I paid $100 for it when I bought it years ago. I'm going to say 25 now. That one I've had for dang near 40 years. Yeah, we'll go 35 anyway. That dates back to 1985, I believe. I do believe. So we're getting close to 40. But we'll call it 35. So you see those red straps? That's actually a hook right there. And a hook over there. There are L brackets I put on there. And I literally hung it on the side of a roll-around tool cab I had. So I put a wooden block top on it, double half-inch I think it was, or double 3/4, butcher block style top on the box, and I hung toolboxes like this right off each side and the back. Actually, I had two on the back and one on the... So I'd work right out of the toolbox and I had a work top. It was nice. Anyway, I got to do something with that cart so I can take stuff in and out of the car and not have to leave it in there all the time. Well, I'd switch this around, but you know what? Once I'm going, the phone won't let me switch. So, here we are for today. And then you folks have a good one. Oh yeah, need your chain sharpened. Got the sharpener under there, brake and mend in there, fuel line, spark plugs. Got a lot of good stuff in here. I built it up over the last couple of years. But this is the stuff I love most. Here we come. Near 10 minutes. Make it relatively short for you. See you later.